Hey everybody, just ambushed myself. Just had to go and top up the electricity on the house, and then as I came back in, I was like, "You're going to hit record now." So here I am. Hi everyone, welcome back to Top 100 Games. I'm in the top 10. Finally made it. So been looking forward to talking about these games. Let's go straight in now. Number 10 is Final Fantasy IV. Final Fantasy IV. This is the first Final Fantasy I ever played, and this one harks back to college. So, when I started college, I did it 2 years after I left school because I did an MBQ for a year. But when I was at college, I was just about 17 and a little bit. And my friends there, Lee Kinchington and Paul Isaiah, discovered, or had already discovered, and had SNES emulators. So, of course, you all know by now, like my beloved history with the SNES, due to having my cousins and so on. So I was fascinated, and all the Final Fantasy games were on there. Now, Final Fantasy VIII was out at this point, and that was the most recent one. And I was quite interested in the development of the Dreamcast, and that was coming out, and so that sort of, I don't know why I tie those two things together in my mind, but at that time I did. So I was very interested in Final Fantasy, and of course Final Fantasy VII had been out a few years previous. This was 1999. So Final Fantasy VII had already been out for a couple of years. Final Fantasy VIII had been out for a little while. So the first one I put in was Final Fantasy II. Now it's the one that the Americans call Final Fantasy II, but it is actually Final Fantasy IV. And so I got really excited about playing it at college. I went home and got the emulator and the ROM and was playing it. And I didn't have any sound working on the game for whatever reason. It turns out years later I hadn't actually turned it on in the settings. So I'd listen to music, and the CDs I was listening to at that time primarily was the 13 album by Blur, which is a great album. And when I hear that album now, it just makes me think of Final Fantasy, like running through the map with Cecil, Kain, Rydia, and Yang, and Teller, and Rosa, and Edward. And so, and then years later, I played it again with a different or updated emulator, and I had the sound on, so I was actually able to experience the music for the first time, and the soundtrack's really nice. But this game really captured me in a way that, it's probably the first proper adventure game of this sort of type that I'd played. Obviously I knew about Final Fantasy VII by reputation, by everybody saying it was the best game ever, and Final Fantasy VIII because it was gorgeous, and we'll come back to this point. But this game, you start off with Cecil, who's this dark knight, and he's having to do things he doesn't like, so he basically turns to good. And I've played all the way through it more than once. Had a great time with that. Played the remake on the DS as well. That's fantastic. Been meaning to add it onto my phone emulator. The only reason I haven't dove straight in is because it's all real time. If it was completely turn-based... Is it completely turn-based? I might be mistaken here. So I could play it at work, but there's only so much I can do in lunch breaks at work to make that viable. So just the impact that the game had on me at that time. I was 17. Emulators were new. This was the first game that I went for with an emulator that I absolutely trounced. Didn't have controllers or anything like that back then, so I actually played this with a keyboard, and that was fine. Don't really need a controller for this one. But I played it loads. Really loved the story. Really liked things like how you rescue Rydia as a little girl, and then she disappears for a lot of the game, then comes back, and she's this whopping great summoner. And just didn't see that coming. Then the story with the twins, where they sacrifice themselves so everyone can get out, and Teller, his revenge, and just Edward generally being rubbish, and Kain under mind control. And all big old Golbez the bad guy, and just real genuine memories of a game that completely suckered me in, absolutely and completely, and I would gladly play this through again and again. And yeah, I haven't played it for a couple of years. I said I was 17 when I first played it. Didn't get it on DS until I was mid-20s, so it's been around for a while. And it's 2017 now, so it's still rated high enough to be my number 10. So that's Final Fantasy IV. Number 9 is an old one. This goes back to the 1980s on the Commodore 64. This is Whizball. Now, Whizball is one that I played with my mum loads. What you are, you're this round... You're a wizard who's turned himself into a ball, funnily enough. And what you got to do is go through these side-scrolling levels to pick up paint, because you're returning the colour to the world. So when you start off, you're bouncing up and down, and you have to sort of turn in the air, and then your momentum makes you bounce. You know, when you get like a tennis ball and you spin it as you throw it, and it lands and it bounces in the direction of the spin, you get that sort of control over the wizard. So the first bubble you can get, you can wiggle the joystick, and it gives you a power up where you can control left and right. So as you're bouncing, you can kind of go left and right, but the upward momentum's still the same. And then you get another one, you can control vertical as well, so then you can like freely move around. Then you can get like a shield, and then the third option is your cat. Now your cat can be controlled by you by holding down the fire button and then moving the joystick around, so you're firing and then the cat's moving around. Or a second player could play as the cat. Mum was always the wizard, I was always the cat. Every now and then we'd swap around, but primarily I was the cat. And the cat, it's kind of expendable because you can just get more bubbles to get the cat back again. And the cat is used to primarily pick up the paint drops as they fall from the enemies. So Mum and I played this game loads when I was little, loads and loads and loads. And you think we had the Commodore up until the early 90s, so this is a long time ago now. We actually played this earlier in the year. I can't remember when exactly, but my PC was around Mum and Dad's house. I can't remember why. And I had my joystick. I took it over there specially so Mum and I could play. She had the joystick, I had the keyboard. And we played it for about 3 or 4 hours, I think. Same time as when we played on a Dr. Destructo, number 41. We played this was the same day. And yeah, so we still played it. We've played it more than once since we've had the Commodore on various emulators. Just getting a nice joystick for Mum to play it with. The one I've got, it's not quite as responsive as she'd like. I think her hands aren't really strong enough for the buttons. But yeah, so this game takes me back to being probably 8 or 9. Playing with Mum, probably on a rainy Sunday. Kaz was probably up in a room or out with friends, and Dad would have been at work, and Mum and I would have been at the computer playing this. We did it loads of times, and we still talk about it from time to time. So we played it this year together. Played it a little bit on my own, but it's one of those ones where if you have somebody else as the cat, it does make everything a lot better. And yeah, the game itself is really good. Going around and picking up the paint drops, and then after you get enough paint to fill up the cauldron, it's shown at the bottom of the screen. You get taken to this bonus level where you've got these things flying in. And I always remember Mum saying the little asteroids flying in were lychees, because that's what they look like. And I was like, no. And apparently my gran likes lychees, so you learn something from video games. I learned that lychees are things that people eat, but the only person who I knew who likes them is my gran. And then later years, and of course it turns out Claire likes them as well, but I don't know anybody else that likes them. But so yeah, those are in there. And then you had like onion rings flying in as well, which were like rings that would come in. Those were called onion rings, and well, there's probably more, but I can't really remember. And then when you died, it says as in T S H S H S H S H, as if like, which is kind of like odd, kind of funny. And then when you land, you go back to your wizard form, and you're there, and the cat's in the cat form, drinking his milk out of his bowl, and then you go to the next level, and there's pipes in the levels that connect the levels together. Like level 1 only has red paint from the drops, so the first cauldron you get there is red. So after you've filled that up, the next cauldron you need on level 1 is purple, I think. So you go down the pipes to level 2, and in level 2 the drops are green. And I think the first cauldron you need from level 2 is brown, which of course is red and green mixed together, so you'd need half a cauldron of green and half a cauldron of red. So you'd have to go back to level 1 to get the red drops, and then to level 2 to get the green drops. Level 3 has the blue drops, so to do the second cauldron for level 1 you'd have to go to level 3 and get half a cauldron and then back, and then there's like more complicated ones we need like a little bit of everything. So basically, as long as you've got like a full cauldron of every colour, everything's fine. But the levels ended up getting a bit mazy because the pipes are sort of separated levels, so certain pipes and certain levels take you to different areas, and there's parts with inaccessible bits in the middle. So the only way you could get to this part is by going through a pipe down this end and not down this end. If you go down this end, you come out here, and you don't want to be here because there's no way to get to the next level down here. So you end up having to go round and round. I really enjoyed this game. Somebody did a remaster of it as well, not too many years ago, and that was really fun too. I think we played that multiplayer. I have to check that out actually. I think I've got it installed. But yeah, so this one from the 1980s, Commodore 64 Whizball, number 9, and yeah, I think it's justified. Okay. Alright, this is one of the big hitters. This is one of the ones you'd expect to find on this list. This is Final Fantasy VII. Now, how did I get to Final Fantasy VII? My first memory of Final Fantasy VII is, of course, it being on Games Master all the time and me knowing it was supposed to be good, but because I didn't have a PlayStation, the only person I knew with the PlayStation was my cousin Dave, and I only ever knew what he had. I didn't know anything about it, other than my friend Ben at school was talking about his getting a PlayStation. He was saying about the games, but he wouldn't want to get Final Fantasy VII. So I was like, oh, okay, so I just assumed it was rubbish because Ben didn't want it. So going back to Final Fantasy IV, when I was playing that at college, I was really excited about it. After I'd been playing it for a while, I was telling my friend Tom Sanford at college that I was playing it, and he was just like, oh, you should play Final Fantasy VII, it's better, or much better, or not in like a, oh, you should play it, it's better, but in like a, oh, cool, you should play 7, it's better, I'll lend it to you. So we did. So Final Fantasy IV got like put down for Final Fantasy VII, and I always remember when I installed it, my Uncle John was over, and this was like November '99, I think. And I installed the game, loaded up, and the first bit with the train comes in and Cloud jumps off it. My uncle's just like, oh, graphics are a bit rubbish. And I was like, shut up. And then just sort of got on with it. Didn't realise you had to grind. So the first bit where you're in the reactor station, I got absolutely pulverised by the boss there. And I went back to college the next day and was just like, it's too hard. And he's just like, yeah, you got to kind of like fight more than you think you need to. So, oh. So I went home again, loaded it up again, and did the old grind, and then took it out, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I always remember talking to Tom a bit later about it, when we got to the Golden Saucer at level 20 or something, and he was just like, oh man, I wouldn't get to the Golden Saucer at all until like level 40. I was like, really? Oh man. So I did loads more grinding outside the Golden Saucer to get to level 40 to get further, and at this point he was just like, a little bit later on, Tom was like, I actually prefer Final Fantasy 8 to 7, and that's always stuck in my head, as Si will tell you. This was about the same time, so it probably was like November, December 99. I was talking to Tom, and he said he preferred Final Fantasy 8, and Final Fantasy 8 has been on my I will play that one day list since then, and I still haven't. Genuinely no excuse, like it's only like £5. I could totally pick it up. I just never got round to it yet, you know. It's the white whale, really, I think, in most video gaming, because Final Fantasy VII, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII, is amazing. The story is fantastic. Obviously, you're sort of portraying the part of Cloud, who used to be a soldier, and He's just kind of like a bit world weary, really. And he's got his childhood friend Tifa, who's in Avalanche with Barrett and a few others. And you basically just get embroiled in this plot where Shinra are up to no good, basically. And of course, when you get separated from your friends after blowing up the reactor, nice bit of terrorism, you meet this lovely little girl called Eris, who is a really sweet character who takes a real shine to Cloud and kind of keeps him on his toes a bit as well. And just that sort of interaction was something I hadn't experienced in gaming at that time. You know, because you think the characters from Avalanche are very driven, very focused, and Cloud's just kind of like just going along with it. And then suddenly the tone just completely changes because Eris is so helpless compared to those guys, and she needs Cloud to be her bodyguard. So he does. And then, like, the full story going forwards, when you're climbing the Shinra Tower and going to the overworld, and then you've got, of course, the Golden Saucer and Red 13 and Genova, and the flashback parts with Sephiroth and like the other bits and pieces like Yuffie and Vincent as well. And then not to mention like the end of the game, and then the big final battles and all the secret bits and pieces. There's so much depth to this game. The music is amazing. The graphics are they're dated, but whatever. The game came out like 20 years ago. And you don't play a game like that for the graphics. Not at all. It's not what it's for. And my mum and dad I played this a lot. Like, I'd stay up. Everyone would go to bed, and I'd be up playing Final Fantasy until like I couldn't see, and then I'd go to bed for a few hours and wake up and go to college the next day. Fact, absolutely. And Dad was like, one time, Dad was like, "Oh, I couldn't sleep because all I could hear was the music from the game," and he was talking about the battle music. So I was like, "Oh, which music?" And he's just like, "Oh, the bit that you hear all the time." And so he'd probably been laid in bed, like trying his hardest to go to sleep, and all he could hear was the fight music from Final Fantasy. But I have no regrets. This game inspired me to write. It inspired me to draw. It inspired loads of music, loads and loads and loads of music. Just the feelings, emotions in general, and everything that this game has inspired is why this game is up as high as it is, and it could possibly be higher. Possibly. This game's had a big impact on a lot of people, obviously. It had a huge impact on me. I was 17 when I first played it. Yeah, I just love it. I always want to play it again, but I'm saving it for the big remaster that's coming out one day soon on PlayStation or PC or whatever it's out on. But at the same time, I think the newer HD versions of it that you can get on Steam and on the PlayStation Store, I've kind of like streamlined it a bit anyway. I think you can like skip battles and that sort of thing if like you just want to sort of play through it like carefree rather than like the big experience. But this is one of the most played games that I've played. I've probably played more Final Fantasy VII than I have played Minecraft, which is crazy to think about. Yeah, I just absolutely love it. Now, the next game I have played more than any other game ever, I'd imagine. First played this next game back in 2006. I actually played it earlier today. I played it loads for about 5 years, and then only on and off the last few. But number 7 is World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft is a very polished game. Obviously, it's been out since 2004, 2005. So they've had so much time to make it the great game that it is. Admittedly, I did prefer it how it used to be, when the character classes actually had some individuality, where you had like 20 spells that you could only fit like 10 of on your hotbar, and now you've got like 5, and that's all you have. And then the different specialities, the specializations of each class were more important, whereas now it really doesn't matter all that much. So this game, originally, me and Chris Longworth were going to play it back in 2005 when Anna was going to go to Australia, and I knew I was going to miss her. this was going to be my replacement for her while she was away, and so this is what like me and Chris were going to do. Obviously, I ended up going with her, so that didn't happen. But a few months after we were home, Chris and I were talking about it again, so we thought we'd give it a go. So we got like the game and a month subscription, and we played it. Chris made a warrior, I made a paladin, and then we played it for one evening for about 3 hours, and that was it. Just one evening, Anna was over, and I sort of said to her, "Oh, this is the game that Chris and I are playing." She was, "Oh, cool, cool, cool." Took a look, suddenly got a bit interested in it. Next thing you know, she wants to like look at the characters and the places, and she's suddenly very interested in it as well. She buys a computer to play this, and then next thing you know, me and Anna are playing World of Warcraft a lot. And so this game I associate with quite possibly the warmest, most loving, nicest time of my life, probably, where everything was just great all the time, you know. Yeah. So and yeah. So I played this with Anna quite a lot. And my second PC got taken to her place, and so we'd play side by side. And yeah. Yeah, so, and I played it a little bit by myself, but it's just not really the same. But this game inspired art, it inspired stories, so much like storytelling, and met some other really good people in here as well, like a guy called Martin from Sweden. He actually taught me a bit of Swedish as well, so that was quite fun. But yes, this game just has introduced stories, loads of like drawing and stuff, because every setting in the game is completely different. And actually, Anna and I are playing it again now. We played it last night for a bit. We played it on and off the last few weeks. And every now and then you get that itch to play the thing that you haven't played, and so she and I back on the old headsets playing again, which has been really fun. We've been doing Trolls, although we're not really too keen on the Horde, because obviously there's Horde versus Alliance, and the Alliance are like humans, night elves, dwarfs, gnomes, and probably something else. Oh, Draenei, who are like these, they're kind of like elves, but not. They've got hooves. And the other side is the orcs, trolls, tauren, goblins, blood elves. And but the Horde seem to be all completely like all about war and destruction. We were playing it last night, and just didn't really agree with what our faction was doing. But yeah, so this game has inspired loads of very nice memories. I played it a lot by myself as well. I was in a guild when I first got the game with lots of other people, and yeah, so I could have like the TV on behind the computer screen, and I'd watch TV whilst I was like doing dungeons with these guys from around the world. That's kind of fun. Done loads of drawing, playing as druids, so you can sort of do like the nature-y side of sort of the gameplay. It's great for RP. A lot of people have a lot of fun RPing in this game. And yeah, just a game that calls back to me as much as it does. And my first character that I played with Chris for that one evening, my paladin, who's called Cordelia, is now actually level 80 now, and has been for probably about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, and the level cap is now 110, which was mad. I remember when the level cap was 60. Like, you used to not be able to ride a horse until level 40, and now it's level 20. You used to not be able to fly at all, and then flying became level 70, because the level 60 was the level cap initially, and then when the first expansion came out, when we first played, there were no expansions. So when the Burning Crusade expansion came out, the level cap got increased to 70, and once you reached level 70, you could fly in Outland, which was the area for the expansion. So people will love that. And then eventually, like years later, they introduced flying everywhere, and then they brought that level down to level 60. But by then, I think the cap was 90 or something. Like the cap being 110 now is just bonkers. I can't get my head around that. My highest character is the druid. That I played a lot with Anna, which is 84, I think, and her druid's 87. So we're quite high, but not very. The characters I've been playing recently, we're level 33, 36, something. I can't remember. We're leveling pretty fast, which is good. I just keep joking. Maybe we'll hit 110 by the time our time runs out in October. But we've got a long way to go yet. But let's say it's a great game. You got the questing, you got the dungeons. You can do some RPing. There's story there if you want it. All the quests have story. All the factions are all connected. The stories are all connected. Everything that everybody's doing is happening for a reason. There's novels that tie into everything as well. Apparently, the movie talks about things in the game as well. I haven't seen the movie. But it's one of those games that if you could live forever, this would be a game that would take up a lot of your time, you know, because you wouldn't have to peel yourself away from it, so you wouldn't. And it's a real time sink. I think my memories and experiences of playing the game are what elevate the game this high. And if I didn't play, if this was based on solely playing by myself, it probably wouldn't be number 7. But the fact that this game has so many like positive connotations for me, that it's up here. So there we go. It's number 7, and I've been going for 27 minutes. So I'm going to call it here. So what I might end up doing is doing the top 6 on their own. Or I might do 6, 5, 4 and then 3, 2, 1 as a video. We'll have to see how much I have to blab about. But yeah, I think that just about sums it up for those guys. Final Fantasy 4, Wizball, Final Fantasy 7, and World of Warcraft. Cool. Thanks for watching. We'll be back for the last 6. Right, bye.